and Dennis Schroeder is 10 feet away, runs straight into him, and then flops on the floor. There was no screen being set.
Yeah.
He just ran into him and dropped to the floor, and they called it, and it happened 2 or 3 times. Like, what are we doing here? I mean, they showed the replay, and you're like, what is that? There was no screen attempt. He was just. Welcome to another episode of What Are They Going to Say Now? As usual, Jay and Tony back here with you, and we're right in the thick of the NBA playoffs, so that's what we're going to be talking about mostly this episode.
Yeah, some crazy happenings for sure. Some tight games, and whew, man.
For anyone wondering who watches us on YouTube, I'm out here in lovely Scottsdale, Arizona for the week on a guy's golf trip. So it's pretty much golf and then watch basketball and eat good food.
I'm jealous.
Maybe a few adult beverages along the way. It's possible. Yeah. So,
nice.
Yeah. You know what I will say, being out here, surprisingly, I've seen very little swag from Suns fans. Very few hats, very few shirts. I don't know. I guess I'm just used to the Bay Area and the Warriors, or down in LA and the Lakers, and it's just everywhere, right? This time of year.
Yeah.
I swear, I don't think I've seen a single Suns hat or shirt.
Wow.
And I've been out here like 4 nights so far.
That is surprising. They seem to have a good fan base, or at least they fill up the stadium and stuff. So
yeah, I don't know. So
who knows?
I found that interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe I wasn't looking hard enough.
Oh man.
All right. Well, let's go. Let's just start with, the Warriors, Dubs and Lakers. Last night's game was a disaster. Curry had a great game, triple-double, 31 points, but he needed help. No one else was helping him.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the only thing he didn't do was shoot the ball well.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't as
which
efficient.
Was strange. I
think did he have 34? He had 34 on 31 attempps or something like that. I think it was something, or 31 on 30 attempts.
Yeah.
So not horrible, but not his normal efficient self.
Right. 12
probably
because from the field.
He was the only one who could do anything. So
right.
He was just kind of forcing the issue too.
Yeah, 3 of 14 from 3, which is not normal for him. But he was doing everything else. I mean, he was the initiator on offense. He had some beautiful passes, was getting the ball moved around.
He was playing great defense too.
He did enough to win, like for his part, for sure. So
yeah, and I mean the obvious, another bad shooting night from Clay. He had 9 points. And had some painful chucks in that fourth quarter, just
last couple minutes.
I know Clay's going to Clay, but it was like, come on, man. Like, especially when they have the lead. And then
a lot of hero ball going on.
And then the ongoing train wreck situation, that is Jordan Poole.
Brutal.
It's been a horrible series for him. It's been a horrible playoffs for him.
Yeah. And he's basically unplayable right now. He's getting nothing on defense, and he's just so in his head, and it's basically like you can just see out there that he doesn't know what he's doing. It doesn't look like he really wants to be out there, to be honest. It's just a brutal situation. We don't know how this season is going to end. It's possible it could end next game or game 6, or, hopefully they get it to 7. But I don't know. It might be this might be the last time we see Jordan Poole in a Warriors uniform.
I will say that contract is looking pretty ugly right now.
Yeah, for sure. You'd have to definitely attach some things to it. So
maybe he needs to change the scenery. I don't know. It's just I mean, we were yelling like, get him off the court last night's game. Get him out.
That's pretty bad. Yeah.
Yeah, he's turning the ball over like crazy. Mm-hmm. Just train wreck.
Yeah, I mean, I will say we can talk about some positive things that happened, because they did play well for 3 quarters, right? They started the game well. I think inserting Gary Payton into the starting lineup was brilliant.
Yeah.
He was able to get downhill and move the ball around, score, actually take layups, and they were drawing Anthony Davis out, and it looked like, it was really working. I wish they would have stayed with that in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And had Gary Payton out there, especially when Lonnie Walker turned into, prime Reggie Miller.
I know.
Unreal. Like, I don't understand
He
why
had
there
15
wasn't a.
points, and all of them came in the fourth quarter.
And I mean, that's something that, we can blame the chucking and all of the miscues offensively in the fourth quarter, but I don't think anybody accounted for Lonnie Walker exploding for 15 points.
Right. Out of nowhere, kind of.
Like, right. How do you, because you're worried about Anthony Davis and LeBron and, all the other offensive options they got. And then Lonnie Walker comes out of nowhere. So just tough.
Yeah. The other thing. Now, first of all, let me preface this by saying the Warriors blew it. They only scored 17 points in the fourth quarter. They choked it away. So, yes, the Dubs blew it. It's on them. But we need to talk about the officiating. It was god awful. Before the game, you sent me the ref list. We're like, Scott Foster, not good. Never good for the Warriors. And look, a lot of times Warriors were going up in the paint. They were in the paint early in this game a lot because they weren't shooting well from outside. And so the Curry was in there. There was several times there was obvious and ones they didn't get. But, look, some of that stuff happens.
Yeah.
What was particularly egregious was in the fourth quarter in particular, and just in the second half, a couple of called moving screens, illegal screens, where no one was setting a screen. There was one where I think it was Clay or might have been Poole. Someone was just standing in their position in their offensive spot, and Dennis Schroeder is 10 feet away, runs straight into him, and then flops on the floor. There was no screen being set.
Yeah.
He just ran into him and dropped to the floor, and they called it, and it happened 2 or 3 times. Like, what are we doing here? I mean, they showed the replay, and you're like, what is that? There was no screen attempt. He was just standing there.
Yeah. I mean,
unbelievable.
Right. I mean, we know
floppers. Lakers
we know that they're
like
floppers.
Crazy.
We know that they're grifters and floppers.
Even Steve Kerr never talks about this stuff.
Yeah.
He doesn't like to. In his presser, he's like, he called it out.
Yeah.
He was frustrated with it.
See, I feel like he called it out on the wrong game, in my opinion. I mean, the free throws, I was just looking at the box score. The free throws last night were 20 for the Lakers.
Discrepancy.
20 for the Lakers, 12 for the Warriors. That's not a huge discrepancy compared to
30-6.
That's what I'm saying. He called it out in the wrong game because games 1 and games 3, where it was, 20 plus free throw discrepancy, those are the games that they were flopping and getting away with things, and
Yeah. Well,
so to me,
in particular, he was talking about the illegal screen calls. I mean, they were totally absurd because no screen was being set.
I get it. I don't.
As a player, you're allowed to like stand and exist in your space.
I get it. I just, to me, like that.
It shouldn't have mattered though.
Right. That's not the reason they lost the game.
The Warriors blew
last night. Yeah.
The Warriors blew it.
They blew it.
I'm just pointing out how frustrating that.
Yeah. It is frustrating.
And I mean, and I'll say this for other games. Just the NBA officiating and some of that stuff is just. Yeah. What are we doing? It's crazy.
Because you could call moving screens 100 times a game. So like some of the moments they called it too was a little questionable.
Well, and actually, most people don't understand the screen rule. They think the Warriors set a lot of illegal screens, and I'm sure they do set some. Right. But it's also overblown. You're allowed to sort of move. You don't have to be completely static. You have to give the player that you're screening about a foot of space, and you can move just kind of in your general spot. You don't have to be a statue.
Right.
As long as you're just kind of in your general position.
You can't hold the emotion up.
Stick an arm out. Yeah, but you have to give them like a foot of space. It's in the rules.
Right.
So a lot of people don't even understand what an illegal screen is or that rule in general. It's actually pretty long. If you look at the NBA rule book, it's a fairly long paragraph describing it.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. To me, like I said, I actually thought that they had every chance to win that game. Like, you had the perfect.
Oh, they blew it. They blew it. Yeah, Again, I'm not blaming this on the refs.
No, I get it. But like, that's the most frustrating thing, right? Is that the game you had to steal at Crypto? It was that game, right? It was you had everything working in your favor. You had, basically neutralized Anthony Davis.
They had a 10-point
right?
lead. Weren't they up 10 points at one point?
10-point lead. Anthony Davis had 4 points in the second half. Like, everything was working your way, and they still blew that game. So, there's blame to go around.
I do have to give. I mean, great game from LeBron. He did a lot of shiftiness and cutting through the lane, and you just get that layup. He had some real nice. Some nice moves in the paint. He had some real impressive stuff.
He played well, but like I said, I think just Lonnie Walker game ball I mean,
Yeah.
unbelievable. You just don't expect that from someone off the bench who didn't play the first 3 quarters. It was unreal,
Yeah.
and
Well,
they got work to do.
you know who we didn't mention, and this is a big deal. In the postseason, the second best player in the Warriors has been Kevon Looney,
Yeah,
and he's had an illness these last 2 games
yeah,
and played very limited minutes. And
yeah,
that's a big deal. I mean, we said going into this series, we said with AD and LeBron, it's going to be a big deal for have Looney out there and have Looney play well. And we saw it in game 2 when the Warriors dominated. Looney was cleaning the glass
yeah,
and take care of business. So only getting what 12, 15 minutes out of him these last 2 games, if that, and him just not being fully healthy, a little lethargic
yeah,
out there. That's a big deal for the Warriors. That really exposes them because they don't have a good like other big man. Draymond can kind of
yeah,
guard those guys, but you need a guy like Looney out there, and that
yeah.
really hurts.
It does. I don't know. I still think they could have won. I mean, if you look,
Oh, I know they should have.
yeah,
They should have.
and
They
the
blew it.
rebounding. What do you think? How do you think the rebounding was last night? Would you say that the
Um,
Warriors
it
got beat
was
bad on that?
no, I would say it was streaky. There was
Yeah,
periods. I mean, they got a lot of offensive attempts. They
yeah,
had a couple sequences where they got like 2 offensive rebounds and 3
yeah,
shots on the possession and
hmm
missed all of them.
yeah.
You
Right.
know,
So they were missing a lot of shots because I was just looking at the box score, like, because I was thinking that too. I'm like, Looney out, this and that. They only lost the rebounding battle by 2.
yeah, I thought
I
it was
will
pretty
take,
even. I thought it was
yeah. I
pretty even.
mean,
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. All the circumstances, even the
yeah,
stats and the amount of shots take, like everything looks like it should have been a Warriors win. Which
yeah.
is
At
when
the
you lose a game like that,
yeah,
it's just brutal.
Draymond was okay. He had an okay night.
Yeah, he
But
also
really at the
basically
end,
got concussed, so that
I know
was
that was a pretty bad hit.
yeah. He
I don't.
probably should have been looked
He
at
was
for a
probably
concussion.
woozy. I mean,
Yeah,
that was bad.
really.
Also,
Yeah.
not a dirty play by LeBron at all. LeBron
No, no,
tried
no.
not
Yeah,
to do that.
yeah.
It just happened.
Maybe it should have been a clear path, but other than that, yeah, it was.
Yeah. No. Clear path is only. It's not a clear path foul if you were making a play on the ball, which LeBron was. So it was a
Oh, is that
correct
the
no call.
okay? Because he was ahead of everyone, but I got you.
Yeah. But
Okay.
LeBron was trying to make a play on the ball. Clearly,
Right.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just
And they're like
it's
good buddies. He's not gonna
right.
take out his friend either.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So we'll see. Do you have any predictions for Game 5?
Well, obviously, we just need Curry's been there every game. We just
Yeah,
need someone needs to step up. We need Clay.
yeah.
Someone needs to step up and help. It's going to be back at the Chase Center. I think the
Yep.
Warriors take Game 5,
Me too.
and then Game 6 is going to be the big one.
That's the one.
Actually, I'll say this: let's say the Warriors take Game 5. The winner of Game 6 wins it all. Obviously, the Lakers win Game 6; they win it.
Yeah.
If the
Yeah.
Warriors win Game 5 and Game 6, they'll win Game 7. That's my
Yeah.
call.
I'm with you.
But they
I'm
have to
with you.
get there. They have to get there. So that's
Yeah. Have you seen the Corgi's prediction?
the corgi has the Warriors getting it done. That
This
corgi
this
that
was
corgi
before
is rarely
this
ever wrong.
this was before the series, correct? Like
Yes.
he basically for the viewers that don't know, there's a corgi at the top of some stairs, and he has a
He nudges
little
a basketball down.
little basketball hoop. Yeah, one with Lakers, one with Warriors. He has the Lakers going up 3-1, which they did last night, and then the Warriors winning 3 straight. So I'm riding with the corgi, man. I don't know about you.
This corgi has his win-loss record on predictions is like
Yeah.
85% or something. It's crazy.
I'm just saying. So I think we got to put that.
I need to start watching the corgi
for our
videos
fans.
more
Yeah.
corgi, and then I
Yeah.
need to start just gambling based on the corgi results.
Absolutely. I mean, 85%. That's pretty good, man. So, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would say if we can win Game 5 and have confidence going into Game 6, maybe some of these guys who haven't been contributing, like we can get them going a little bit. You just need to get one there.
I know.
We can win 2 games at home. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Well, that's why I said if the Warriors win Game 5, it's Game 6 is what it's going to come down to. That's going to be the thing. So
absolutely. So
all right,
so
well
we'll see.
let's move on. Poor Knicks go down 3-1 against the Heat. Playoff Jimmy Butler. If anyone had any doubt if playoff Jimmy was a thing, I think you really can't question at this point that he's completely, he's a top 7-8 player in the league when it's postseason time, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
But during the regular season, he's kind of left out of the conversation because he's kind of just going with it. I don't know. He needs that edge of the playoffs to apparently get him up.
Yeah,
And
he's unreal. He goes into a different mode,
yeah,
right? 27 points, 10 assists. So I mean, he's passing it around too. 42 minutes. I mean, he was doing everything. Um, yeah, and it just feels like the Knicks are I don't know if they're tired. I know they've had some injury stuff. They had injury stuff going into the playoffs. Randall being hurt right before. He had 20 points, so maybe he should give you a little bit more, but it just feels like
I feel like this series is over.
defensively.
I feel like it's over. The Heat are going to close them out.
So
Maybe it'll
you
take
don't think Knicks win another game at home?
maybe one, but then beyond that, I think it's over. The Heat are just rolling on
Gotcha.
them.
Yeah, I mean you had Brunson scoring 32 and RJ Barrett scoring 24.
Yeah,
But it just seemed like they didn't have enough help from others there because there's no one else in double figures. So it's just yeah, and like we said, the Heat are not gonna fold, right? They're not gonna just
yeah.
be outworked.
The Heat are a lot like the Warriors. They're just a tough out.
Yeah, right.
So
Yep. So yeah, impressive win by the Heat. I really thought the Knicks were going to tie that one up or be ahead in the series at this point. So
yeah.
shout out, playoff Jimmy.
So now, since I'm here near Phoenix, we'll talk Denver Phoenix. And,
Ooh,
I said Denver went up 2-0 and it looked like they were going to sweep them. And I said, Denver is not the same team on the road. It was that way all
mm,
season. And Phoenix comes back. KD and Booker have two great games back to back.
yeah.
And they hold serve. And now it's 2-2. And they're going to go back to Denver. That's why originally I picked Denver in 7 because they had home court. They were going to win all their
Hmm.
home games. And it's looking like it could go that way.
Unreal.
Other thing with KD and Booker, the Chris, I think game 2, Chris Paul gets hurt, and I think it took him a full game to get used to running the offense without Chris Paul out there.
Yeah.
And now they seem to have figured that out, and we're rolling. So it'll be interesting to see if they can kind of translate that game, that flow, how they're running that offense without him once back in Denver, and what that looks like.
Right.
That's
And
later
if Chris
tonight.
Paul does try and come back or something, I think the way that they're playing is very different from when Chris Paul is out there, right? Because he's slow it down, very methodical, getting to his spots and, getting everyone involved. And they're running right now, man.
Yeah.
They are just run and gun. Like, honestly, I think it's better for their team the way that, they can kind of like the run and gun Suns, back in the early 2000s. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I can't
It's
believe I'm going to
interesting.
say this, but is Booker the best player on the Suns right now? Is Booker better than KD right now? It sure felt that way these last 2 games. Like Booker's the guy out there.
I think he's the number one option right now. I'll say
Yeah,
that. I still think KD's a better overall player.
yeah.
And right,
It
just
just
in
Booker
general.
really stood out to me these last 2
Yeah,
games.
yeah. No,
You
he's playing amazing. And efficient,
Yeah,
which
very very
he
efficient.
hasn't always been the most efficient player. So it's very impressive. KD doing stuff. They also had some guys off the bench that were. I'm trying to see if I can pull up the box score now. Um, like getting some bench help, which was pretty impressive. Landry Shamet, yeah, 19 points off the bench. Like that's what they haven't been getting in like those first 2 games.
Yeah.
So if they get any kind of consistent help off the bench, plus KD and Booker doing what they're doing, yeah.
Oh,
And this is with Jokic going crazy. He had 53 points. I mean, the guy
yeah.
was unbelievable. But
Jokic going crazy on multiple levels. Fortunately, the NBA announced this morning they fined him 25,000, no
yeah.
suspension, which is the right call.
Oh, that was a
Um,
flop. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it was a flop by the. I mean, a guy who's 5'10" getting pushed by Jokic in like kind of the upper chest. I mean, he was probably just kind of not expecting it. But
I
and
think he flopped.
credit to the Suns owner. He said, "I don't want him suspended."
Yeah.
He's like, "I don't want the series to go that way."
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I will say though, I mean,
It's just a funny situation. It's just random.
Jokic though, I mean, Draymond gets a reputation. Jokic is kind of a hothead and crazy.
Oh yeah, he's got a
We've
mean
seen him in
streak.
the playoffs run and shove a guy in the back from behind to the
Yeah.
floor.
Yeah.
Remember that a couple years
Yeah.
ago?
Yeah.
Jokic is dirtier than Draymond. He does crazy shit.
Ooh, hot take.
He does.
Hot
I've never seen
Okay.
Draymond run and blindside the guy from behind and knock him to the floor.
Yeah,
Crazy.
true. Draymond does have a list of crazy
Yeah.
things he's done too, though. So that's an interesting take. I'm here for it. I don't know if I agree, but
Jokic has about 3 incidents like that.
yeah. Okay. All right. Jokic
So,
versus Draymond. I
you
like
know,
it. Yeah. Um. Yeah. So that series, I think you're right. I think I could see it going 7 now for sure. Um. Yeah, and maybe it just comes down to home court, right? That
mhm.
Denver has home court. Maybe they win it in 7.
It will not surprise me with the way Booker and KD are rolling if they steal one in Denver tonight. Though,
Ooh. Okay.
wouldn't surprise
So
me. I think
you
it's
would
going to be a
have to
close
put
game.
yeah, you would have to put you'd have to bet on them on Phoenix closing it out then, right?
Yeah, we
If they
need to
could
find
go
a good
back home with 6.
we need to
So,
find a good Suns fan bar out
there you
here in
go.
Scottsdale, and I can actually see some Suns hats and whatever. And
Yeah.
I
Get
kind of
into
want
the
to. We were at a bar on uh, Friday night, and there was not many Phoenix fans out watching. So we need to find the right spot so we can kind of get the vibe from the home team,
for
home
sure.
fans.
Yep. Nice.
Okay, and then last of all, we got Boston and Philly tied 2-2,
Another good
and
series.
and
Whew, man.
so what's interesting about Philly is it's basically they live or die with Harden, and it's strange. Embiid was the MVP of the league. He had my vote. Not that I have a vote, but I would have voted for Embiid. But Harden's the most important player on that team. If Harden's having a good night, they win. If
Hmm.
Harden's having an off night, they lose. That's how it's been going.
Yeah.
And that was even in the game that Embiid wasn't there, game
Hmm.
1. Harden had a great night and they won. And he
Yeah.
had another great night, last night or the night before last,
Yeah.
and they won again. So that
Yeah.
series is getting a lot more interesting than I thought it might end up.
Yeah, and it's super interesting. Like, I'm just not used to seeing James Harden like doing well in the playoffs. Like it's blowing my mind. Like I'm used to seeing him short circuiting and right and going 0 for however many from 3 and imploding, and I'm actually like really impressed with what he's doing.
Yeah,
It might also be because I don't really care for Boston too much and some of their shenanigans and
right.
just the whole experience after last year, and Boston looks like the team who's not experienced and making mistakes, and yeah, just some baffling defensive plays at the end of that game to leave James Harden wide open, and then and they actually had a chance to tie it after or I'm sorry, take the lead
Yeah.
after the Harden shot, and they just like pissed it away. I don't know what they were doing. Tatum was like,
Yeah, they should have taken the timeout, right?
timeout
It was weird.
or just go quicker. Like they were acting like it was tied and they were going,
Yeah.
trying to take the very
You
last
you either
shot.
got to push it down the floor immediately or take a timeout.
You gotta put
One or
that
the
thing
other.
up, man. Try and get a
Yeah.
rebound if it doesn't go in or something,
Yeah.
but you don't have time to waste. And then they get it to Marcus Smart for a 3 that was what, zero point 0.5 seconds late. I mean,
Yeah.
which was it was just it was that was actually a really good game, and I think that might be the best, maybe the best series that's going still, as far as like, very each game is very competitive.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have no idea who's gonna win. It's been really it's been a good series. So
So they play tonight, as does Denver and Phoenix, and they're both
nice.
2-2. And it's worth noting that the winner of game 5 in the 2-2 series wins the series 86% of the time.
Whew.
So big,
Wow.
big games tonight.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, we'll see
In
what
other
happens.
news, we should talk about a couple things that came up. Milwaukee fires Bud Budenholzer as I predicted. You were not
Yep.
sure on that one. I was like, he's gone. Too much of a reputation for not making adjustments in the playoffs. He's a great regular season coach.
Yeah.
Milwaukee over the last 5 seasons has the best win percentage in the league, I think.
Yeah.
But gets to the playoffs, and he's been criticized for it before. He just doesn't make adjustments, and that's a big deal. Jimmy Butler's
Yeah.
going off. Double team him. Make someone else beat you. You got to do
Right.
stuff like that. Just
Yeah.
stubborn to a fault. Really good coach.
Yeah.
He's going to land somewhere. He should really land on a team that's sort of, a 10, 11, 12 seed that needs to,
On the brink.
get put together on the brink to kind of take a leap up, a leap up, kind of like Mike Brown going to Sacramento.
Yeah.
So Bud would be great for a team like that. But a
Yeah.
team that with Giannis and they're expected to contend for titles. He's just not the great coach for it. He's really not.
Yeah.
He needs to learn from that. We saw the same thing happen when he was the coach in Atlanta.
Mm.
He had a 60+ win season with that team in Atlanta.
Multiple,
Remember
I think,
back in
yeah.
2015, I think it was,
Mm-hmm.
and then they would flame out in the playoffs. Same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I will say I feel like he, I felt bad for the guy. His brother passed away during that series, and I just, I can't help but think like that. Obviously he's going to give his all to the team, but maybe he just had other stuff going on in his head, and
Well, I mean, if this was a one-off, that would be one thing.
Yeah,
but he
no, I
already had
agree.
that reputation.
Yeah.
He had that reputation before.
I
So
just and I also just think like somebody was going to take the fall for that, right?
yeah, when an 8 seed beats a 1 seed, usually there's got to be a fall guy.
It wasn't going to be Giannis or really any of the players, so
Right.
unfortunately it has to be the coach. So yeah, I do hope he lands somewhere else because I think he's a very good he is a good coach. Obviously, like we said, he's got some faults as many coaches do. The adjustments just they don't come in the playoffs, not like they should at least. And we know some coaches can be stubborn with adjustments. I think Steve Kerr sometimes can be stubborn with adjustments, but when they
Yeah.
need to be made, he makes them. And we can't say the same for Bud so far. So
You mean like leaving Jordan Poole in too long? Oh
I
man,
mean, or putting him in at all.
he may
I
not.
mean, what?
He may not see the floor in Game 5. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't want to go back to that series, but I mean, I don't know what other options he has. I mean, you're paying that guy
I
to
know.
be a contributor on your team, and you're hoping he can give you anything. But it's just unreal. He's unplayable right now.
Yeah.
So
All right. Well, another news. Also, Memphis made it astoundingly clear that they're moving on from Dillon Brooks, and he will be not be resigning with the team under any circumstances.
that was a wild tweet. Yeah, I mean, I get it. like after the whole experience in this playoffs, and I think it's been something that's been coming for a while. You just realize like for all the stuff he helps your team with defensively and toughness and all that, he just takes so much away, man. He's such an idiot that
Yeah.
I think they're just
Well,
like
we said
we're done with the Dillon Brooks
why are you
experiment.
why are you talking trash ahead of a series about LeBron James? You keep your mouth
Right.
shut.
Right.
And it's like you're not on that level, dude. You're not even.
Right.
You got to be all NBA if you're going to talk shit about LeBron. You got to be at least all NBA. Otherwise,
yeah.
keep your mouth shut.
He was trying to be Draymond Green without the Draymond Green
Without the
pedigree.
rings and the
Right.
defensive player of the year and
Right.
all that,
So yeah, I don't know. Do you see another NBA team picking him up?
Yeah,
with
he's a good
headaches?
defender.
Okay,
He
so
needs to
maybe
be more
like a bad team that
selective.
needs help. Yeah,
He needs to be more selective with his shot. He could end up as some kind of role guy or who knows. I mean, he's totally delusional though. He's like, yeah, I wanted more of the offense in Memphis to circulate around me. It's like, Ja Morant's your teammate, right?
right.
What are you talking about, dude? Also, you shot 32% from 3 this year.
Right.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So he needs a reality check. I heard he was asking for $25 million per. It's like you're not that guy.
But you know what's interesting? I really think he could have. I mean, just like the way he was kind of boosting his stock as far as being a good defender and stuff, and I think people were starting to look at him that way, and then he just flamed out.
Yeah, he'll end up somewhere like Orlando or something like that.
A lot of money.
Orlando or Indiana or some team like that. I think might have a use for him.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I would say he's not without some skills as far as
Yeah, you don't make it to the NBA without having some talent for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, just the end of the Dillon Brooks era in Memphis is it's interesting.
And that's the other thing
is they pick someone up. But
it was a little tacky by Memphis. I know they were like, we didn't say that like that. It was just reported that way. Although, I mean, who knows what the truth is there? But also, Memphis has a whole cultural problem. They need to straighten up their house, and it wasn't just Dillon Brooks. They've had all this stuff going on. They need someone to clean it up. I don't know if Taylor Jenkins, their coach, is. We saw him last year. He kind of played into it a little bit with kind of the whining and the just maybe that team needs more of a stoic older coach to kind of, you know, draw the line in the sand and change the culture a bit.
Yeah, I think he's a good coach.
Memphis has like a college frat mentality to
Yeah.
it, and it needs to get
Well,
cleaned
yeah,
up.
right. And I think that comes with having your star, right? Your leader, John Morant, is immature, and obviously
Still
this
very
year,
young.
yeah, obviously this year just had some major, issues off the court, and just a lot of stuff that you don't. If your leader is that way, it tends to breed that in your organization and locker room, right? That you kind of
Yeah,
take on the persona of your leader, and
absolutely.
so yeah, I mean, if Ja, you know, is better this year and kind of takes more onus on, and can kind of like grow into being more of a a traditional leader, and bringing the team with him. And Jaren Jackson Jr., same thing. He can get
Yeah,
whiny and kind of like, what I mean, arguing with the officials and all
right.
that stuff. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see where they go from here, because I think they kind of topped out as far as they can go, like with that group together.
Yeah,
um, so maybe they make some kind of big trade and get another piece in there to for some more defensive help, or even another scorer in there.
I think they need a true secondary scoring option. They have a bunch of
Mm,
guys who can put up double digits on any night, but if
hmm
John Morant isn't the guy putting up the big number, I don't think they have another guy right now. I mean, Bain, who can
I was gonna
just
say Bane. I thought
they need like a Clay
played
Thompson
well for the
type.
most part.
They
Yeah,
need like a Clay Thompson type, or like that kind of secondary level.
right.
You know,
I mean, they did have a lot of injuries too, so we should say that. I feel
yeah. I
like
mean,
if
Steven Adams being out was bad for them for sure.
yeah, Ian Clark. Like I feel like if
Yeah,
they had those, if they had some of those guys, or Brandon Clark, sorry, not Ian Clark, former
yeah,
Warrior. If they had some of those guys, I feel like they would have given the Lakers a better shot. Um, I really felt like Memphis could have done better in that series and competed more. But it is what it is, and yeah, it'll just be interesting to see how they come back next year, as far as what the roster construction is, and um what the goal of the organization is to try and improve for next year. So
yeah. All right. Well, we got a couple interesting games later on tonight, and then some big ones the day after for the Warriors. If they're going to stick around, they gotta get it done.
yep,
So yeah, we'll probably do a recap next weekend and see where the series are at that point as we're kind of wrapping up round two.
yep. Hey, if we win game 5 and game 6, I'm getting a corgi shirt. I'm gonna wear it for game 7.
I
So
love the corgi. Smart dog. Smart dog.
we got to put that clip on there, man. That
Yeah.
it's just unreal. So, but yeah, it'll be interesting.
I'll post a link to the clip in the comments.
Nice. There you go.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll be checking back in soon with more NBA.
Peace.